Gender-based violence is a problem that has been made worse by the COVID-19 pandemic in Nigeria. The European Union, United Nations Spotlight Initiative and partners have been in the forefront of the fight against sexual and gender-based violence. These efforts are yielding positive results. Two initiatives, the Gender-Based Violence Barometer and the Gender-Based Violence Video Competition, have helped raise the awareness on tackling violence against women and girls, as well as track its progress. Joining me from Abuja studio is Ambassador Ketil Carlson, Head European Union Delegation to Nigeria and ECOWAS. Good morning. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast.
Good morning, and thank you so much for having me.
Right. Now, let's begin with the sexual and gender-based violence competition. Talk to us about the decision to decide to take up or do this competition. What was the essence, and would you say it achieved it?
So you will all recall that last year we saw this heinous pandemic within the pandemic, where really we saw a spike in the numbers of sexual and gender-based violence crimes against women, against girls, and against boys as well. And I think there was a genuine outcry in Nigeria, which is positive. You know, sorry, I keep hearing my own echo here. Sorry about that, the sound is not working well.
But we can hear you. But we can hear you, so you can go ahead.
Yes, so like I was saying, you know, when we saw this spike in violence, of course there was an outcry in Nigeria. I think everybody said enough is enough. We have to do something about this. And we got together through the Spotlight Initiative, together with the United Nations, together with our national partners here as well, and took a careful look at what can be done. And one of the things is raising the voice of Nigerians, you know, making sure that the outcry will not die out when the immediate attention is dying out. And that is why we decided to do this competition, where we had, in the end, 685 entries. A lot of young, creative, dynamic Nigerian artists did amazing videos, and we ended up selecting one of them in the end. I'm sure you will see a lot of them on TVC and on other programs in Nigeria as well, because it's important to hear the voices of the victims here as well.
Now, quickly talk to us. It's interesting to see that a young Nigerian emerged, and talking about a young guy or a young man, emerged the overall winner in this competition. What stood him out of the 685 entries? What stood out from he emerging that made him emerge as a winner?
Yes, again, I apologize, but I really can't hear what is being said from the studio. But let me take this opportunity to say that as another initiative, what we did was to launch as well a barometer. And this may sound a bit technical, but you see there's a lot that can be done on the ground, especially in the states of Nigeria. You know, putting in place the domestication of the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act, the Child Rights Act as well, putting in place shelters on the ground for the victims, having sexual assault referral centers, and of course having registers for the sexual offenders, so that there will be a real, you know, justice prevailing against those perpetrators of this heinous violence. And making sure that it is visible to everyone just how far have they reached in each state. We have made this amazing online webpage that you can all reach on gbvinfo.ng. So gbvinfo.ng. And there you will be able to go in and see what is the state of play in every single state of Nigeria. And of course, our hope is that, the decision makers, the governors, will take a careful look as well, and making sure that they do not come last by the end of the day. We know that these methodologies, they work when they are done well and when they are implemented. And a lot can be done and should be done in order to make sure that we really, really grab this bull by the horns and make sure that we will say absolute no to gender-based violence in Nigeria.
So now, how much more, or what more should be done to bring us closer towards the target of 2030, where we're hoping to eliminate gender-based violence, especially with the launch of the barometer?
Well, so it's all about implementation, because we have done a lot of talking about this, but I think we are all afraid of opening the newspapers in the morning and see, what are today's stories of crime against women and girls. So what we need is a victim-centered approach, where fundamentally we make sure that there is proper access to justice for all the women and girls that fall victim of this crime. And of course, at the same time, keeping the debate alive. Even if we saw this pandemic within the pandemic and a spike in the violence, of course, during 2020, we all know that this is not something that is going to go away from one day to the next. Even in Europe, everywhere in the world, we have serious problems with gender-based violence. So we are not here to point fingers or to say that we have found all the right recipes on how to curb this. But by the end of the day, it's about having the proper policy response in place. And there are packages to do that, having legislation in place, implementing it, and at the same time making sure that you have these sexual assault referral centers where victims can come, feel safe, receive psychosocial support, receive as well, support in terms of the rule of law, seeing the perpetrators being brought to justice. And then building on that, we need to build a culture where we say no to gender-based violence, where it's not considered manly for men, to violate women, where rape is not tolerated in our societies, and frankly, where we have a culture of inclusivity. Just yesterday, I had a conversation with the Senate and the House of Representatives here in Nigeria on the importance of having more women in politics in Nigeria. And I believe that having more women in leadership positions in Nigeria is a way as well of making sure that all the voices are heard in this country, that indeed we have inclusivity, and that we hear the voices of the most vulnerable, making sure that youth, people with disability, and of course women are heard and that they are included in the decision-making processes as well.
All right, the EU-UN spotlight have always been at the forefront of the fight against sexual and gender-based violence. Perhaps it is time for us to hear about the successes that it has achieved so far. Talk to us about that.
Well, so the Spotlight Initiative is a global initiative, of course, but really one of the flagships is Nigeria. We are providing here support in the order of 25 million euros. And I think what makes it such a rich program is the togetherness between the United Nations, our Nigerian counterparts, and the European Union, and linking project implementation with policy dialogue. So we are not only implementing a few select projects in a few select states, but we are making sure that the lessons learned from that will resonate and enrich the policy dialogue at a national level and actually translate into national action on the ground. And again, seeing this barometer developing, seeing the National Register for Sexual Offenders being put in place, seeing the strengthening of the rule of law, seeing the implementation and evaluation and reinforcement of national and state legislation is absolutely vital. So this is what we can do when we are smart about our support in a place like Nigeria, not only replacing the services to be provided by the Nigerian authorities through projects, but actually elevating that to a more transformative action. And I think we have seen with the pandemic ongoing, horrible as it is, we've seen some opportunities to make use of that as a platform to have transformative change within other areas. And let me say and take this opportunity, that it's wonderful to see really today how the European Medicines Agency has declared as well effective and safe the AstraZeneca vaccine. And of course, we all hope, with the roll-off of vaccination and with the massive support having been provided also by Team Europe, 2.2 billion euros to the COVAX vaccines, including those in Nigeria. And before that, the provision of support more widely in Nigeria. We all hope to see the pandemic going away. But probably the longest lasting pandemic in world history is the violence against women and girls. So I'm afraid that even when we have forgotten about the COVID-19 pandemic, we will not have, gotten away with the sexual and gender-based violence. So this is a fight that we will need to continue to fight for a very long time. But let's all get together and making sure that we use all possible instruments to see that we say absolutely no to this scourge in Nigeria and beyond.
All right, that'll be a fine place to leave the conversation. Ambassador Ketil Carlson, Head European Union Delegation to Nigeria and ECOWAS, thank you for your time on the program.
Thank you very much and a very good morning.
Good morning.